Yes, sir, you're first. You're right here.
I'm a little confused by some of the terminology which has been used, and I realize I'm probably treading on sensitive areas, and you may not want to answer some of the questions. Repeatedly, I've heard from all three of you reference to we're going to keep things as normal until as late as we can. And I'd like to have some idea of when some of the traffic restrictions, some of the other restrictions which are going to affect Richmond Street. So I'm not that far towards the convention centre, but we're not that far away either. And I suspect that there will be traffic congestion which builds up because of the fence and because of other issues, which is going to flow back towards Richmond Street and Simcoe and so on as well. So if you can clarify that, I would be appreciative. Let me give you all the questions, and then you can answer them at one time.
Why don't we have one at a time? Just it's easier, I think.
Certainly.
I might forget. I'm getting older, you know.
That's all right. So that's why I'm looking at my notes.
The fence line will not be affecting vehicle and pedestrian traffic. It's going to be starting to be erected, as I said, about 2 weeks prior to the summit.
And just the erection will probably limit traffic.
No, because believe me, they've done this before, and it'll be kept to a very minimum. However, the problem will arise beginning on the Thursday, roughly the Thursday, because the G8 summit in Huntsville, that's the Friday, Saturday, and the G20 is the Saturday, Sunday. And what happens when these people, the internationally protected people, the dignitaries come to town, is of course they have to be moved around and transported in what are called motorcades. And these motorcades, even though they're constantly moving, they still result in temporary shutdowns of roads, and we know this city. And no matter what we try to do, that is going to cause congestion. There's no doubt about that. But outside of those days, where there's going to be some traffic congestion, the business should be as usual. Outside in the security zones.
So your definition of a few days is Thursday?
Thursday is when the motorcades will be starting to impact traffic. After that, this event in Toronto is taking place predominantly on the weekend, the Saturday, Sunday.
Understood.
So the week leading up, in that there could be stoppages, there could be some rallies and demonstrations that may slow down traffic. That's to be expected. So these things we can't help. We try to mitigate with the traffic officers that are going to be out there, but they will definitely have an impact. So that's about a week leading up. During the summit, we will try to maintain business as usual on the weekend. People will be able to access the Toronto Police fence line as long as there is no significant security threat. It will be business as usual, and that movement will continue. However, if some significant security threat arises and those gates close, yes, that will be problematic, and we realize that. And we will try to keep that to the absolute minimum if it does occur.
Understood. I wasn't trying to argue. I was looking for information.
Absolutely.
So
Now,
Thursday is really...
That's what I gather, yes. I'm also confused why you started this afternoon or this evening by saying that the security zone, which is widely publicised, being Yonge to Spadina and Queen south to the lake, was publicised, and yet you are saying that the real security impact is much smaller than that, and that area was a misinformation effectively. I don't remember what expression you used.
We're not sure where the information came from, but certainly I read it in the Toronto Star and the Globe and Mail this morning.
Yes.
But
And I heard it on the radio as well.
That it did not come from, at least according to the deputy, and I think it didn't come from you, George, it did not come from the police. So I think that there was some confusion in that piece of information, because first of all, even the boundaries weren't right, but there was it looked as if there were two security zones that would be fenced off. And that's why George has been able to clarify that for you.
There has been several communications to different groups at different times, and I think there has been a moving target in terms of where exactly staging might or might not take place. And I think that, I know that, for example, there was a waterfront BAA who are staging a tall ship festival on this weekend and would love everyone to come. Yes. That their initial information, their initial communication to their membership, which went viral across the internet, identified Queen Street. I also know that I was on a program on Rogers Television about a month and a half ago, and at that point somebody phoned in from the security detail and identified Queen Street after it had been knocked off the table. So even though we're giving you boundaries today, as these boundaries are reviewed and the security concerns are reevaluated, those boundaries could change at a moment's notice. And so it is a bit of a moving target, and will require a great deal of patience to understand and respect that. We're trying as best to get you the information as quickly as possible. There will be updates.
One last question, if I may. and it's a delicate one potentially, so you may not want to touch it. Communications. I mean, all of us depend heavily on cell phones and wireless communications. Certainly in our business we do, of many kinds. Are we going to see that those are likely to be more burdened than usual? Let's put it delicately.
I don't quite understand more burden than usual. I apologize.
Sometimes you don't get a cell line if you try to get one, and if there's a panic, and what I'm asking effectively, I'll put it directly, you've got all the special security activities, and I realize that cell phones are not a secure means of communication, but there are many other devices which use those frequencies, those channels, and can tie up channels quite heavily.
Well, I can assure you this, we're very well of our cellular nets and that, and we're working with the people to maintain those so that they are maintained.
I didn't ask about maintained.
That's all.
That's all that you're prepared to say.
That's all I'm prepared to say. The other nets and that are, again, security related, and we don't
That was why I
discuss
said
those.
it was a delicate question, and
Thank you.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm a resident in the Beverly Sullivan Grange Park neighborhood, and I'd be very curious to know approximately the increase in rates of flights. Again, it relates to the question of aircraft patrols and noise and imposition on our quiet and peaceful neighborhoods in the region on a regular basis, and the increase during the G20, not to mention late night flights of helicopters on a Queen Street grid. Obviously not just transporting patients to the hospital, but interesting formation I've been studying of Army military helicopters, Coast Guard helicopters, local small, perhaps news and surveillance helicopters, and they're very loud, especially at 2 and 5 o'clock in the morning. And I just wondered if anyone else has noticed this issue, and I'd be very curious to know just what the numbers are on this and what's going to change during the G20 and what we can do about it. Just seems to be there's a substantial increase in the last year to 2 years over the downtown neighborhoods in helicopter traffic.
Yes, there has been. Yeah, Adam and I have been actually both of us working. One of the things of real concern to us is that the island airport has not been using the helicopter traffic as part of their NEF flight restrictions, and we're very concerned that those are exceedingly noisy, and that most of them are not going to Sick Kids Hospital, as we all kind of, when we hear them going to Sick Kids Hospital, and we think, well, that's great. There's another kid that's being taken care of, and I don't think we mind when it goes over our houses at 10 o'clock as the Sick Kids does. But we are very concerned that Medevac is actually located in a place that is quite far away from where a lot of them are used. And we're also concerned and have been pushing the Port Authority to include this in their noise mitigation strategies and in their reporting. So this is a different issue that we've been working on in terms of the island airport. It affects very much both of our wards, and it affects the residents and the children that go to school in our wards. So we've really been very active in terms of trying to make to hold the Port Authority accountable to the tripartite agreement that they have signed. And we will continue to do that work very vigorously. We, as recently as 2 weeks ago, had a meeting with the mayor's office again and with the city staff in legal, and it is our intention, both of our intentions, to press that the legal document is the legal document, and that we will not permit any increase in traffic over and above what that legal document allows, and that all traffic, including helicopter, will be counted within that within those slots. So that's been a big push by Adam and I.
I can add that the number of helicopter flights has increased and is now tripped a requirement for them to actually designate flight patterns and to avoid
That's right.
noise-sensitive areas. Unfortunately, the waterfront community around the airport, Bathurst Key, is not included in that calculation for some very strange reason. The second thing is that having designated those flight routes, they're in the process of doing that. One of the things that has moved the helicopter flights north across the city is the frequency of takeoff and landing of the Porter airplanes that has occupied the critical airspace along the water's edge that could be used, and that has redirected a lot of the non-commercial flights and the non-fixed wing flights north into the city. And so we're watching that very carefully. We're trying to get the federal authorities to live up to their agreement, but they seem more interested in court cases than negotiation.
But however, that's for another meeting, and there will be lots of those too.